you lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, is that the same?
Yeah,
And it's, I think at a certain point, we can do so much, but if people aren't willing to figure out what information they need and where to get it, or they don't listen and don't subscribe to the communications channels we have, I reach a point of just at a certain point, I think that that's an unsolvable challenge. And so I'm not quite sure like how to get around that other than like identifying that as a value. Or as an understanding. But that's the thing I think about a lot, because I do think we get a lot of information out there, but you can't make people learn from it, so. But I'd love to hear what others think.
Well, I'm not agreeing in part with that, but I will say. If a horse is thirsty. They will drink if you leave them to water. And I think that there's a lot of. Desire. At least certainly in the community that people are spoken with. For increased transparency, and I think that a lot of that is already existing. We don't know about it.
mhm,
And so I think that a big part of this is just leading them to that
mhm,
and then letting them drink themselves.
mhm.
So, but I acknowledge that I'm the kind of person that knows how to navigate a government website. Find out information. To a lot of people, I think that the website isn't going to be what you're doing and to see how that looks and see how we can go to the community, be like amazing, look at all the information online, look at the assessment data, look at the friends data, look at the rules, et cetera. And I don't like the phrase like rewriting the deck chairs, but sometimes you remake the deck chairs and it's like that, really open up the space. So I'm looking forward to it.
I would just say that I think it's really important to meet people where they are, being like, go to where they are, like we did with the listening sessions for the small schools.
Yeah.
And when we go to where they are, we get a lot more feedback because we do it on their terms
Mhm.
and we do it in their space where they're comfortable. And so I think that's something that we could think about. I think what's also interesting is we mentioned Happy Valley and Clackamas today. So the North Clackamas School District, they hold town hall meetings. Their school board holds town hall meetings for everyone in their community. And so I know we did that with the long range planning session, but I just think that might be, when we think about communication, something to think about how we communicate more to the entire community, especially with this bond, right?
Yeah.
Because we're gonna need everybody
Yeah.
to vote on it. So maybe think about how we can get out the vote and like get out to communities like our retirees or, who may not have kids in the district. So I just think that's important too. And then I definitely agree with the leading, like Mike was saying, like about giving them the information, showing them. And I also, unfortunately for myself, agree with like telling them over and over and over again. Like you have to keep telling them, like, it's just something we're gonna have to do. And but yeah, so that's all I have. And I love this exercise. Thank you. So creative. I love it.
We live at a time where disinformation is a real problem.
Yes.
And I want to think about that as we run into a lot of people who have misinformation, but there are also some who are promoting information that they maybe don't even know is reliable and they're just promoting it. And I think that's a disinformation piece. And so I want to be really conscious of every opportunity we have to give accurate information. And I'm talking about us five,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a certain amount of information that is expected from from our district. And I'm happy to continue to look at how we're doing that and how we do that effectively. But I also want to be conscious that when we have opportunities to speak, I'm talking about board meetings and other public events, that we are taking opportunities to make sure that some of that information that is really clear.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was reading something that OSBA had out, and they were saying that it's important to get ahead of the rumors, and whether you do that through a newsletter or reaching out to the media. Otherwise, it said it's just a bunch of people on a runaway bus. Like,
Yes.
you can't recover from that. So they were just saying, be proactive to stop, what the community is saying.
I believe that wholeheartedly. I would love someone to help me know when a rumor is coming and, because that's the part that happens so fast.
Yes,
In a minute, one student writes something, the whole neighborhood could know it. And we're just seeing it also at the same time.
Yeah.
And then parents call us and say, have you seen it? We just now saw it. Why didn't you get ahead of it? We just saw it. Like this.
yeah,
So, I think our mantra constantly is, let's get ahead of that. Let's get our narrative out there. Let's get ahead of that. Let's get ahead of that. I think we do it better than we've ever done before. But it is relentless and it is
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
fast and it's unpredictable sometimes what creates that and what comes out there and then nothing happens. Like, are people talking about it? No. Where did that go? We were ready to maybe address it and now we don't really need to.
Yeah.
Just those few kids, so, I'm not surprised they have that as a suggestion and I think it's our lead priority. Is let's get ahead of that.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what can help transparency, this little piece, is when we are able to just be clear about sometimes when the information isn't what you want to hear.
yes.
Yeah.
Instead of dancing around that,
Yeah,
just saying, no,
right.
this is where we're at, and happy to talk to you about it, but this is where we're at. Otherwise, they kind of leave thinking, well, we're still talking about that, and we may be saying, we're not talking about that really.
Yeah.
Here's why we made this decision.
I
And so,
agree with that.
this last year, there are things that just were, I think, dragged out way beyond when they should have. And I think, like Oppenheimer, I think it's a good example where I feel like in hindsight, maybe we could have earlier on been like, we're actually done with this.
Yeah,
And I know that's not the news you wanted to hear, but that's what it is.
Well, but I mean, I think the thing that strikes me though is that I think the repercussions from that, then it can feel political.
Yeah.
Like, cause I think a lot about how Kelly and I were portrayed in the election and our views on Oppenlander are identical,
Yeah.
but they supported Kelly and they opposed me. And I mean, and I don't regret it, but I think I was like more direct in being like, this is what I believe. And, I think that you were just nicer, honestly, to them. And I mean, and I do think that sometimes, like, maybe having each other's back when we say the hard thing.
Yeah.
Because I do think it makes it easier for then people to be like, well, I don't like what you said because you didn't tell me exactly what I want to hear. I'm not saying that you did that. I'm just saying that, like, I think that like the directness of being like, no, this is like where we stand. Because we didn't differ, but there was a political ramification of that. So I just want to name it. And,
Yeah, for
it
sure.
obviously was fine,
I think
but
that's really poignant, because I can tell you from experience that people don't typically expect to agree with public officials 100% of the time, but they hope not to be, I don't want to say lied to, but they hope to be given the straight talk 100% of the time. And I know people who are, I know one guy who's a diehard fan of Jeff Merkley, and you look at his bumper stickers and you'd be like, no way. But why is such a fan of Jeff Merkley? Whenever I email his office, if they don't agree with me, they tell me so.
Mm,
And there's, and again, I want to point that right back to enrollment and public perception of the district and public confidence in the district. And I think it's much better in the long run for one of us to give straight talk to someone and say, hey, that's not what we are. We're not with you on that at this point. We moved on, or whatever the case may be, versus, well, let's see what happens and maybe we'll talk about that and blah, 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 just kind of dance around that.
So we all have to clarify our understandings of some of this. right?
Yes.
And then we have to kind of speak
Yeah.
as one voice.
Mhm. Yes, we have to be on message. Yes,
Well, there's
yes.
ways of being honest,
Yeah.
that's not conveying a accurate, premise.
Well, sure, yeah, sure, sure.